Howdy, I'm Grey Pilgrim. Well, back in the days of the 1860s, when America got into this little bit of a spat called the Civil War, or if you happen to be a Southerner, the War of Northern Aggression, well, the North, most of the North was armed in 1860 with this, the Colt revolver. It's in .44 caliber. It's a nice weapon, and it works. And most of our officers were well familiar with this particular weapon. An alternate of that was this, the 1858 Remington, also in .44, also simple to use, and most of the officers knew it pretty well too. But as with any war, they ran into a problem where guns were coming and going really, really fast. And anybody who had an idea for a gun was told to apply to the War Department and see whether or not they wanted to buy whatever they had to sell. So a fellow named Jocelyn was selling, another fellow named Savage. There was there were several different makers. But one in particular came up with something that was really neat. It was called the Starr. And the Starr was developed just before the Civil War. And unlike these guys, these are all single action revolvers. Pull the hammer to cock it and pull the trigger to fire it. The Starr was pull the hammer, or don't pull the hammer, pull the trigger and pull it back. And a second little trigger was right behind this trigger. And that little trigger there was the actual firing trigger. This was just a cocking piece. So if you pulled all the way through, it was a brutally long trigger pull, but if you pulled all the way through, you could fire the gun. Or you could use this to cock it, then put your finger behind here and basically use the second one as a set trigger, use this as a set trigger, and then use the other one as the firing trigger and use it that way. Well, that was a complicated way of running things. So in 1863, up thereabouts, the War Department asked if Starr would be so kind as to change their design and make it a single action only, so all the officers had, consistency through the Colt, the Remington, the Jocelyn, all the others, so that when they went out there, they basically could do the same thing, same actions with their revolver that everybody else did. Well, the Starr was the third most common revolver on the northern side, mostly in the Western theater. Well, with that little bit of history in mind, the other day my cousin called me, and he had been in a pawn shop in the local town, the city. And he says, guess what I found? And he said, what? He said, a Starr. I said, no way. He said, way. And how much do they want for it? And I knew my cousin knew his guns, and I knew that he would know what he was talking about. And he told me, and sight unseen, I said, buy it. I'll pay. And he put some money down and walked away, and I was about to go off and pay it off today. Well, he and his lady went into town on another chore, and they ended up over at that same pawn shop, and she was looking at jewelry, a lady thing, and he was looking at the guns. He saw another gun that he thought was really cool too, and it was a Euroarms clone of another ancient weapon. And then his wife said to him, oh, just go ahead and buy it for him. He's done so much. And I said, I haven't done squat for you, man. I don't know why you're so good to me. But he bought it. Well, this is it. Unlike these replicas, this is the real McCoy. This is an 1863 Starr single action. And it is a beautiful weapon. It is in perfect working order. Trigger works, hammer works, nipples are perfect. It just plain works. Interesting, if you're interested, the takedown on one of these things is stupid easy. Put it into half cock. Undo this screw. Then, cylinder comes out, the whole damn thing opens up. You can clean it out, which I just got through doing. It's had the ballistol treatment, and it looks just wonderful down there now. cylinder comes out. The design is just stupid easy. The gears on it here are turned by the hammer mechanism there. And instead of having a pin that has goop get into it all the time like a Colt or a Remington, this little pin here, which is fixed, it is not movable, goes down and is... Now, come on now. Why is it when I put a gun together? There. There's always a problem. Anyway, what's beautiful about this is that the nipples here, after they fire on a Colt or a Remington, they have a tendency to fall into the mechanism and bugger things up with busted caps. There's nothing down here for them to get into. They can fall, they can stay on. It doesn't matter. It'll just go. But it's just an open cylinder here. It's a beautiful design. This one is serial numbered. It is marked with a maker's mark on it. It has inspector marks on it. It has everything. The grips are in good shape. The barrel is in good shape. Ramrod is in good shape. Oh, it's just, I mean, this is, for a gun collector, this is a wet dream. And I'm having one right now. I mean, this is just a lovely, lovely, lovely little revolver. And I'm in love. I am so in love. I mean, it just works. I'm gonna dry fire it. Just, I mean, I shouldn't do this, but trigger is just snappy as all get out. Everything locks up perfectly. I got to go out and take this out and shoot it. I mean, this is an actual antique, but if I load about 20 grains of powder in it and put a 44 ball in there, I think it'll work just fine. And I'm not afraid to try it. I mean, the bore is fine. I've cleaned it out. It looked filthy when I got it, but I cleaned it out thoroughly. It looks a little dark, but all the rifling is there. And everything is just crisp and just almost like new. And you look at this and you think, what tales could you tell of battles, of places you've been, of people whose hands you were in? Did they take this after the war and go off to the west and do some... I mean, I'm in Oregon, so this must have come out here sometime from the east. And just come out on the Oregon Trail. Did great-grandpa put it away in the steamer trunk and it sat in the cabin's attic forever, you know, or maybe down in the root cellar. But it's not rusty, you know. It just has some trigger, I mean, some holster marks up here, but everything else is just fine, just fine. I mean, it's got all the bluing worn off. It's well, it is 100 and what would that be? Yeah, about 160 years old. So I mean, it looks great for 100. I hope I look this great at 160. But a Starr single action 1863 revolver, an original, a friggin' original. I am so pumped. Well, that's my gloating for the day. Happy trails.